Hello, fellow grave crawlers, and welcome to ZTV Reviews. I am Paper Zombie, your host with you as always. And on today's episode, we're diving into episode 4 of season 1 of Chucky. So without further ado, let's talk about Just Let Go. Our episode begins by picking up right where episode 3 left off, as Jake leaves the graveyard and follows the sound of the sirens to the nearby hospital. It's there that he encounters the survivors of Chucky's onslaught. Yes, survivors. We're never shown what happened after Chucky went carry on Lexi's party. No flashbacks, no nothing. Just straight into the aftermath like we're not good enough to know. The majority of the survivors just have minor injuries and are suffering from smoke inhalation. Junior and Devin are among them. However, little Caroline is unconscious but stable in the ICU, and Oliver, as we already know, didn't make it. But guess who did make it? Lexi. She reveals her continued existence to Jake when he goes to the ICU. And she also reveals the reason why Caroline is in the ICU. Chucky did it. And the walls between our two enemies come tumbling down after that. Lexi is smart enough to figure out that it was Chucky who killed Luke, and learns that Jake found out that Chucky was alive during the talent show. Now, none of this does a darn thing to settle her nerves, but she's definitely not ready when she finds out that Jake sent Chucky after her and that they'll need to make sure that he died in the fire or risk him coming after her again. This, of course, sends the walls right back on up for Lexi, with her letting Jake know that Oliver died in the fire before she heads off to tell her parents what Jake has done. But when she tries to tell them, Michelle and Nathan shoot down every attempt she makes. So it leads her back to Jake as her only hope for help. In order to confirm if Chucky survived or not, they decide to go check Lexi's house. After making sure they're armed with some makeshift weapons, they head to Lexi's room, which is the last place that she saw Chucky. As Jake and Lexi travel, it leads to Lexi asking Jake why he wanted to kill her. When Jake reveals why, Lexi jumps all over him for going straight to murder as his solution instead of speaking up, and remarks that there has to be something really wrong with him for wanting to go kill someone. And that's when someone we thought might be gone comes out to say a few words to Lexi. Jakey tells her that he didn't just want to kill someone. He just wanted to kill her. Because she deserved it for treating everyone around her like they're nothing, and expecting them to just take it without any fear of repercussion. Lexi, startled by this sudden turn, backs away from Jakey as he advances toward her. She doesn't realize that she's backing toward the edge of the walk path until her back pushes up against the stair railing, which causes it to collapse and send her tumbling over the edge. This brings Jake back to the surface, who reaches out and grabs a hold of Lexi's hand to keep her from cratering onto the first floor. And that's when Chucky makes his grotesquely grand entrance from the shadows on the first floor and immediately goes to work on bringing Jakey back to the surface by telling him that it's not by coincidence that they're at this crossroads, and that this is Jakey's second chance to be the man that he was meant to be instead of the scared little that Lexi tried to make him into. All Jakey has to do is just let go. Jake has to fight hard to hold Jakey back. And ultimately, Jake wins the struggle, as he tells Chucky that he's not like him and not a killer. Jake's burst of heroism allows him to pull Lexi up to safety, while a very much pissed off Chucky tries to slash at her dangling legs. Fortunately, Detective Peyton, aka Kim's partner who was present when the housekeeper was killed in episode 2, arrives at the house and comes inside, which forces Chucky to go dormant. Unfortunately, Detective Peyton takes Chucky along with him, Jake, and Lexi back to the hospital, as he was sent to find and bring back Chucky by Nathan for Caroline. Detective Peyton leaves Jake and Lexi locked up in the back of his patrol car. But Kim comes along and lets Jake and Lexi out, but asks for a moment alone with Jake, which sends Lexi off on her own to get Caroline. And Lexi is able to make it in time. Before time, actually, as Detective Peyton is held up fighting with the vending machine. Devin becomes Lexi's unexpected guest outside of Caroline's room, and he asks if she knows where Jake is. When Lexi reveals that he's with Kim, it leads her and Devin back to Devin's hospital room, where he tells us what he's been up to all this time. After finding out from Kim that Oliver was murdered, he did a search on Chucky Good Guy Doll homicides. And look what it turned up. After checking the urban legend link, he discovered the history of Charles Lee Ray and the legend of Chucky. Lexi lets Devin know that the legend is not a legend at all. Chucky is very much alive and very much trying to kill them. While Lexi is away, Detective Peyton arrives in Caroline's room with Chucky. As Detective Peyton samples the goodies that have been left for Caroline and her family, Chucky samples a scalpel and puts that precision aim to use when he hurls it at Detective Peyton and nails him right in the spinal cord. Of course, this means that Detective Peyton can't move. So Chucky gets to take his sweet time as he shanks Detective Peyton with fistfuls of used syringes. And I would like to know what in the hell is in those syringes. Because once Chucky is done, Detective Peyton is bleeding out of his eyes, his ears, his frickin' fingernails. Like, what was in those syringes? AIDS type 2, hepatitis N, and Lithuanian cancer? Jeez. With Detective Peyton down, Chucky takes the opportunity to make an attempt on Caroline by unplugging the systems that are monitoring and keeping her health, which causes a code white alarm to sound. It puts a halt on Kim's interrogation of Jake and sends Lexi and Devin running back to Caroline's room. Luckily, the cause of the code white is discovered and the systems are restored in time to save Caroline. And as the staff, Michelle, Nathan, and Kim discover Detective Peyton's body, Jake, Lexi, and Devin discover Chucky sitting dormant amongst the goodies. And as the episode draws to a close, Chucky leaves his new playmates with an inspirational message. I enjoyed this episode. Talk about a complete 180 when it comes to Lexi. I didn't see that one coming at all. I thought she was going to be so crispy that they wouldn't have even allowed them to show her body to the viewer. But nope, she's still with us, and I like seeing this side of her, instead of that other little heifer that I can't stand. I wanted the writers to take a risk with Jake and actually have him go through with the kill, or the assist. What I wanted to see was how smartly they could have written past that point, since Jake is already a bit of a suspect in all the previous incidents. So it's too bad that they didn't take that route, but I'm still interested to see where things go for Jake, especially now that he has a little crew with him. In the background of this episode, we get to see that Logan and Luke are in fact twins when he unspools on Nathan during a discussion that turns confrontation with him and Michelle. We also get to see where Lexi gets her behavior from. Michelle is like Lexi 10.0. This queen can have such a slick and silver tongue that it makes you want to ragdoll slap her to the other side of the room, just like her daughter. Junior doesn't get much time this episode, but he does have a moment with Logan, where even though it's not physically said, it's clear that Junior doesn't want to be a cross-country runner, and is only truly doing it because it makes Logan happy. If it wouldn't have been for the cold white alarm interrupting, Kim would have had the answer as to what's been going on in town. Because she was sweating Jake out like a perm during a good aerobics workout during that interrogation. Yes, I'm ready for episode 5. Because these kids have no idea what they've just gotten themselves into. Chucky is more dangerous now than he's ever been. Because for the first time, he's giving a big fat zero that his targets are kids. And I hope they have what it takes to endure what's coming and make it out alive. Until next time, I am Paper Zombie, and I'll see you then.